Hello, welcome to another Financial Friday. Hello, this is another Financial Friday. I'm your host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and my co-host is back in
Who's
Brother
Hey, how you doing, all
Minister,
my grinders?
Brother Minister James Jones is back with us today. He's still on assignment, but he snuck out to be on live with us today. How you doing, Brother Jones?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It was good watching. It was good watching, but I do like to give out a whole lot of more advice.
All right, all right. You saying we didn't give out a less advice?
No, I mean y'all did good. Y'all did good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like what y'all said. I got a whole lot more air inside of my lungs, so
Okay, all
I
right.
was watching y'all like yeah. I'll go there too. So yes.
My phone is blowing up. I'm asking them, are we on yet? Are we on yet? And so I was answering. So we are live. I do apologize. That was on me. I was running my mouth and trying to print something out. But anyway, we are back again for another Financial Friday. Again, I am so excited, and I thank all of you who have sent in. I have gotten a couple of emails of people who've been blessed or helped by Financial Fridays. As I walk throughout the streets, whether I'm in a store or wherever I'm at, out and about, I've had people to let me know that they are being helped by Financial Friday, and I've even had a couple friends call me and tell me that I was watching they were watching um, Financial Fridays, and so Financial Fridays is reaching a lot of people and it's helping a lot of people. And I want to say thank you. That's been encouraging and motivating for us to keep going. It originally started as a 90-day challenge, but it got so good we kept going. And then Brother Minister James Jones, he surprised me at the wealth of knowledge and information and how studious he is. And so then we just started digging deeper and deeper. And so we have not hit the bottom of his well yet. He has a well of knowledge, and we haven't reached the bottom. And so we're still out here, and it's all my fault. We put together this book, How to Make Six Figures, and we have not released it yet. So we have to do an edit on it. We do have a draft of it. And so I'm gonna get back on that. I just really been busy. I've been on the road traveling, but all of those are excuses. But we are gonna get it done.
Oh
So
yeah.
how you doing, Minister Brother James Jones? You out on military assignment,
Yes, I am. I'm
keeping
out
our
here.
country safe.
Oh yeah, this is all about training to keep us safe.
Yeah, so we can go to the store and jog down the street and walk our dogs and sit out in our lawn and peace while you guys out there on the front lines keeping us safe. So I appreciate your service, and I honor you for that because that's quite a commitment. So Financial Friday. So tonight we want to kind of keep building. So we're constantly building, and we are rephrasing some things different ways, and we're coming in front door, then we come in the back door, then we come in the side door, because repetitions is what really gets it solidified in your brain. Repetition. So when you get a nugget, you have to continue to practice that nugget. One of the things that I see happen in the lives of people oftentimes is that they don't practice that nugget. They don't practice what they learn. They'll use it in that moment and they'll be excited about it, but then they'll stop doing it and they'll end up back in the same situation. And so it's so important that you continue to use the principles, add on to the principles. If you can't receive everything we said in one setting, get the part that you can understand and walk in that. All right. So tonight we want to talk about the whole idea of building an emergency fund. And that is so key. And I found out, um, you know, this year more than any time how important that is, because even at the church we end up using up our emergency fund. I'm doing some things, and it really makes a big difference. It puts me on edge a little bit in some areas because that's not there. And so I'm still in faith and trusting God. But the same thing in our home, we end up doing some things that we end up using our emergency funds, and then that money is not there. And so I realize how important it's one thing when it's always there. You don't really think about it as an emergency fund. You just got money. You know what I mean? But it's another thing when that money dwindles away because of certain circumstances or unforeseen things, and then all of a sudden it's not there. And so we are in a position now where we need to rebuild our emergency fund as well as increase some other things when it comes to financial stability. So this is a very good topic for us, rebuilding your emergency fund, and how to use your emergency fund to accelerate getting out of debt.
Yeah.
So talk to us, Brother James, and if you all don't mind tonight, I'm going to be being like the talk show host on TV. They coffee or they drinking something. I don't think it's coffee because I don't see no steam coming out of there. So, but anyway, we'll leave that one alone.
So, before I start, I do want to tell you, thank you for coming online, and good evening to all my grinders. If you've been with us long enough, you already know that as we go up, we got to go down. So we did the entire formula all the way down to what it takes to have sanity, and then we start going back up again. So now you know what it takes to have sanity, and you know how to accelerate you there. And now you know what it takes to accelerate you using an acceleration principle to get yourself out of that, and then to increase what you got going on. When it comes to your emergency fund, what some people know and what some people don't know is your emergency fund isn't just money, it's also a stressor. So when you are at the bottom of the barrel, you have no idea how much stress you put yourself through because your mind is trying to compensate for the money that's not there. So then that causes more stress, which may cause you to do a lot more than what you need to do. So the focus is always on your emergency fund, and that's just a cushion. Now, how big you make it, how small you make it depends on you. But there are some general rules in which I do want to go over so we all can do what we need to do. And by doing that, we can grow and develop. Because once you reach your emergency fund limit, you're taking that same money you put into your emergency fund, and now you're using that to accelerate yourself out of debt. You're using that to accelerate your living. You're also using that to accelerate your sanity, or you're using that to give more to others. So your emergency fund isn't just for you, it's to build you a safety net so you can survive the roughness of this life sometimes.
Okay. And so as a definition, when we talk about emergency fund, we talk about a savings account or money that's set aside for unplanned expenses or financial emergencies, such as medical emergency, car repairs, sudden job loss, things of that sort. And also with the emergency fund, you also can create or use the emergency fund to accelerate debt-free living. And that's when you're at a financial state where you don't owe any money to creditors, and it allows you to use your income for savings, investments, living expenses, rather than using your income for repaying debt. And so that's kind of what we want to talk about tonight, because we want to see you debt-free. We want to see you financially free, where when things come up, you don't have no stressors. You can just do what you need to do, and you're not concerned about it. I remember Dr. Betty Price. Once I was watching Dr. Fred Price. He was teaching and on money, and then he turned to he was talking about something about balancing your checkbook or something, and then he turned to his wife and he started saying she never balanced the checkbook. And he started going off on that a little bit. And then he turned to his wife and said, why don't you ever balance the checkbook? And she said to him, because there's always plenty money there. And so I want to be like that. I want to be like, I got enough money that if I don't balance my checkbook, I don't have to worry about running into the red or the black or anything. Well, the black is good, but running into the red because I barely have enough that I got to count the pennies. I want to be able to have it where, balancing the checkbook. I heard Apostle Hilliard say one time, when somebody asked him about why he didn't spend a certain amount of money, and he said because he likes seeing it in his bank account. And so I want to get to that place where I like seeing the money in my bank account more than I like seeing a new car in the driveway. I like seeing the money in my bank account more than I like wearing a new suit. I like to see the money in my bank account more than I like wearing new jewelry. And I'm not saying you have to choose, but I am saying you have to be intentional about how you use your money and how much money you leave on the side for emergency reasons or for debt-free living that you're not always spending just because you have it. So James gonna give us some principles tonight. So let's get ready to Cadillac with our lesson for tonight. Am I all right, James? Am I saying the right thing?
Man, you already started, Pastor. You already got it hidden. I was like, yeah, that's you must have read what I was gonna do. So yes, that is exactly true. You want to be able to utilize where you got. So financial freedom starts with how you put things in order. So when it comes to building an emergency fund, you want to make sure that you're doing the basics over again. And I can't stress that enough. If you assign your money, which is a basic principle, and you assign it to do a purpose, basic principle, and then you continue to be disciplined in doing that, which is a basic principle, you can achieve the desired effects in which you will have with your money. It's like planting a seed. So if you plant long enough, diligent enough, and you are disciplined about your planting, eventually that in which you are planting will reap a harvest. That is especially true when it comes to your emergency fund. If you place $1, $25, $100 away to only be used for emergencies, that is unplanned financial expenses, eventually you will start having a nest egg that can hold you for 2 to 3, which is the minimum, which is about 3 months, to the maximum, which is about 4 years. So you want to make sure that you have a good threshold. And by doing that, you are building an emergency fund. So if something is unplanned or unexpected or some catastrophic, if you have money set aside to handle those things, then that's your emergency fund. But you got to be diligent about it. And an emergency fund is not $20 extra. If that's where you are, start at start. However, that's not going to necessarily take care of you in case you have a tragic or a big emergency financial decision, because things happen. So I want to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Okay. When I thought about that, there's a quote. I don't know who wrote it, but they said like this. They said, saving for a rainy day isn't about finances. It's about building a fortress of peace for your soul. And so we have to change our mindset about why it's important to have an emergency fund. It's important not because we're saving up money. We're building a fortress of peace so that you're not worried and anxiety and, things of that sort, because that is what happens oftentimes is when you don't have enough, you tend to focus a lot on what you don't have. Amen?
Yes, that is true.
Yeah, Proverbs 21 and 20 in the NIV, it says it's like this. It says, the wise store up a choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down. So it said the wise, they store up, but the fool gulp it down. So you got to be careful, how fast you're going through your money, because the Bible said fools gulp it down, where the wise person store it up. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Come on, bro, James.
And because too often we say that we have a emergency fund, but it's not. It's just staying in your pocket until your pocket get hot. And when I say your pockets are hot, that means you see something that you like that's undesirable, that now it becomes desirable. Now you don't know how to live without it, and you mess around and you buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I laugh because we all may have fallen into that trap. But as you get older, you tend to grow out of some of those restrictions. The reason why, and that's one of the biggest reasons why you want to have an emergency fund. The emergency fund typically is covering around 6 months of unforeseen things. So if your engine breaks down in your car, if you need to put new tires on, and whatever you needed to do, your emergency fund will be able to cover you. It is the cushion that you need to develop. And I say that because at the present moment, right? At the present moment, I did a whole full disclosure. I guess that's a good way to say it. Full disclosure, right? So I'm doing a project. Now I have a business emergency fund and I have a personal emergency fund. The business emergency fund has already been hit due to a project that we was going to do, and then it took longer than what it's supposed to. And then on top of it taking longer than what it's supposed to, we are actually just now pulling out. So we have cracked into the emergency fund in order to fulfill some of those financial obligations that the company has.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the benefit about having an emergency fund. Had we not developed an emergency fund back in the creation of the company, this scenario we will have late charges. Some people will not get paid, which is always fun when employees are not getting paid. Some contractors won't get paid, which is always fun when people are not getting paid. Or because we thought about this happening at the beginning of starting the company, so even though we are bottoming out, we still have enough money, or we have a reserve pot of money to make sure all the contractors are still paying. We still make sure the contractors are getting paid. We're making sure that the employees are getting paid. We're making sure that all the remaining outstanding workload is still being managed properly and successfully. And that's even though we're still waiting for September, and we got October, November, we still got money coming in. But that's one of the nuances of buying property. When you buy property, you do a project, the project happens, you are pouring out more money than you take in. Once this occurs, sometimes you predict the amount in which you're using, and sometimes you don't. But by having an emergency fund, by having a good one, even though it dipped down into the emergency fund, you don't go crazy. You're not arguing with people. You're not stressing yourself out. You're saying, hey, I got a plan. This is the plan. We will work the plan. Had I not had an emergency fund, well, actually, even though you do have an emergency fund, you still may go crazy and you still may break down, but that's not the point of the matter. The point of the matter is that you don't have to, because your emergency fund is there.
Yeah.
You may feel, I feel anxiety, right? But you don't have to, because you have an emergency fund there. I'm learning that emotions are intertwined inside of all of us. So I'm not telling you not to be afraid, and I'm not telling you that you can't have anxiety. I'm telling you that it can reduce stress, it can reduce anxiety, and it can reduce you waking up throughout the night to figure out how you will accomplish things, because your emergency fund is there for this purpose, is there to help out, is there to make sure that you can get to the next month, the next month, the next month. So as the projects are going, you are still able to accomplish what you need to accomplish. And then as the money start coming back in, you can replenish the emergency fund as you are completing what you are doing.
Okay.
And so that's what's going on with me. And that's some of the things that I can tell you having an emergency fund does do. It does relieve you of a lot of stress.
Okay. Yeah, and that's important. The Bible tells us in Luke chapter 14, verse 28 in the NIV, it says, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Um, won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? And so the Bible tells us that it's important for us to sit down and count the cost, to look at, okay, what we're doing and be able to estimate, what we're going to need and what's going to happen. And so that's biblical, you know. Now, I'm not sure who eGlobal Daily Facts is, but I like that name and I appreciate your comments because eDaily Facts said, I'm looking for the other comment they said, and then I'll say that one. They said, where's eDaily Facts at? There you are. The eDaily Facts said, producer versus consumer mindset. And he said, let the money stack up. So having a producer mindset versus a consumer mindset. A consumer mindset is one that buy, spend, 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 spend. But a producer mindset is one that builds and plans. eGlobal Daily Facts also said good advice on having an emergency fund for your business to cover overages for employees and projects. And so if you got a business, you also be wise to have an emergency fund because there'll be slow days and there'll be days when there's plenty. But if you're not careful on the plenty days, if you don't stack up, you'll begin to spend, spend, spend. Let me pause right there and say hello to all of the grinders out there. I failed to mention Minister Clearly Thinking TV Minister Brumfield is with us tonight. She said Financial Friday definitely has been helping her. Lady B, how you doing? She's saying good evening, my grinders. Clearly Thinking TV also says that we're patiently awaiting on the six-figure book release. Okay, we're gonna get on that. I got about 3 more books that I gotta produce, and then that one will be next on the list. And so I got a list. I'm working on completing the Take Back book now. We did the Fight Back, and so now I'm doing the Take Back, and then from there I have to do a book that I promised someone I was going to do. I was going to help them to do, and then I have, um, my mother had told me, be better, demand better. I think is what I called it. Something that my mother told me, and I wrote a book about it. And so anyway, yeah, it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Minister Mark is with us. How you doing, Minister Mark? Yes. Lisa Jones, how you doing, my sister? Thank you again for that email that I saw late. It was very encouraging from the Fight Back book. Elder is with us. Yes, sir. Good evening, soldier. We thank you for your service. Yes, talking about Brother James, Minister James' service there. All right. And listen, everyone, take a moment to like and share our show tonight. Just all it takes is a click of the button. Why don't you do that real quick for us? Like and share. Let's help somebody else as we continue to share this good information for uh, this Rise and Thrive Financial Fridays. All right. And so Lewis, he's the eGlobal Daily Facts. Look at him. All right, my brother. Okay, yeah, we are rising and thriving. Listen, rising out of the financial slump and thriving in financial freedom. Listen, speaking of freedom, Dave Ramsey said this. He says, debt is the enemy of freedom, and savings is the ally of peace. And so that's Dave Ramsey. He says debt is the enemy of freedom and savings is the ally of peace. And so we want to get in the habit of watching that money grow, stacking that money, and not spend, especially in the days that comes with the election and some of the things that's getting ready to happen. I believe that it's going to be very important for us to begin to hold on to our monies and save and stack an emergency fund because something is getting ready to happen, and that's kind of a prophetic word there. All right, let's keep going, James.
So, just to let people know, when it comes to defining, by having a structured emergency fund, you are able to define your financial life support. And when I say you are able to define it, I mean, now you have a dollar value for your emergency fund. Now, there's a lot of things out there, or a lot of products that people utilize to define their life support. Some people use life insurance, and they got a technique in which they use life insurance. But if you don't have that, you can do a savings account or a money market account for your emergency fund. If you don't have that, you can always go back to, I have a credit card in which I don't use, but it has a high enough balance on it that it can support me through this rough time. Now, remember, when I say it has a high enough balance to support you, I'm not saying misuse your credit. I mean, I am telling you to utilize it properly so it can do what you have called it to do.
Okay, then that's important now to understand the difference when we talk about emergency fund, and when to use the credit card. You don't use credit card to buy groceries. You don't use credit cards, if possible, for car repairs. There's, those are things you're supposed to have emergency funds for, and so it's important that you understand how to use the credit card. Most of the time when you use the credit card, it should be for something that's going to bring increase, and so when we say having that money for on a credit card that could cover an emergency, that's fine, but you also need to have a plan to pay it back. Because in my experience, what happens is you use it and say, I'm going to pay it back. And before you pay it back, you'll use it again. And before you pay it back, you'll reach your limit. And so it's important to have a contract with yourself that if you're going to use it, one, you can either say, if I'm going to use it, I'm going to have it paid off in 30 days, or some type of contract with yourself where you're chipping it away to pay it back down. Now, you may not, don't wait and say, I'm going to get the lump sum and I'm just going to pay it off, but start paying it down once you use it. James, speak to that a little bit and help me out there, because we don't want people to start abusing their credit card, and we don't want people to just start buying, frivolously using their credit card on things that they really can wait for. So when you talked about having that money on a credit card that could cover the emergency, let's see if we can be a little more clear with the people so they don't go out and just, start spending up some stuff.
Gotcha. Now, when I talk about using a credit card as an emergency fund, I am talking as a last resort. So the first resort is to have a money market or a liquid asset set aside to cover your emergency fund. Now, besides that one, you can have straight cash to cover your emergencies. And the reason why I say straight cash is because I don't believe that you should have cash underneath your pillow. You should have cash inside of a financial instrument at that, putting in more interest and compounding what you have. That's the best way to have cash flow. If you don't have anything, and I shouldn't say it like that, if the best you have is you're pulling $1 in currently to pay out 70%, right? So you got either your $1 of income, 70 cents of that is going towards all of your financial obligations. Well, then you may need to have a credit card set aside to cover your emergency expenses until you can get yourself in a better financial situation. I'm not telling you that you can't use it. I'm saying that there's a whole lot of research that was already done, and they want you to use that credit card to go shopping. And these are not your friends. They want you to use that credit card to buy a new purse or a new video game. Those people are not here for you. They want to put you into a cycle or a system that will keep you perpetually in debt. Unfortunately, that's the way capitalism works. It can be good, it can be bad, but it's still capitalism. The best thing for you, and I mean for anyone who can hear me and understand what I'm saying, the best thing for us is to have a safety net, is to have an emergency fund. And that means we may have to forego some of our hardships or go through some more hardships to make sure we have a fund available. If you can't have a fund available, an emergency credit card may be used to get you from point A to point B. It is not, because I think a good example of using your emergency fund card, right? You have an emergency fund card, not fund, F-U-N, fund, F-U-N-D, fund card. So you have a credit card that you're using for only emergencies. And then the question is, what is an emergency? The gray area depends on you, but it's pretty clear that if you tell me you have a new video game coming out, or if you need a new pair of shoes, then that may not be worthy of using your emergency card for. But what is an emergency? Well, I just caught a flat. Okay, cool, because you need the tire, it goes to your car, and your car is how you go to work. So that's legit. Use your emergency card to get that tire fixed and then pay it off. But you're assigning money to pay off that credit card because you want to make sure you're not putting yourself in more debt. Another, if you want to or not, you have a bunch of groceries, but you really want to get a snack. So now you pay for Uber Eats to drop you off some food. That is not an emergency. Get yourself up, eat some ramen noodles, boil some hot dogs, maybe an egg, have a good night, and go to sleep, because that's not an emergency. An emergency could be, hey, guess what? We got stuck, we're stranded somewhere, and we're waiting for, let's say your car broke down and we're missing dinner, the kids are hungry, and we're stranded somewhere. Use your emergency card, get the tow man to come out there, feed all the kids. That's an emergency because it's an unexpected expense that is about to happen. Those are the ground rules, you should say, to how you use an emergency credit card correctly.
Okay, but understand now, you gotta. Our goal, in order to have financial freedom, our goal is to work on our mindset, as eGlobal Daily Facts said. Becoming a producer, not a consumer, and being able to start stacking money, being able to see money. Oftentimes, it's hard for people to see money sitting somewhere, and you just figure that you just got to use it, and that's not true. You have to get to a place where you can see money sitting somewhere and not be tempted to use it, and that's so important, getting that right mindset. So let's do this, James. I just thought about this. Let's for next I was trying to get my calendar in my head. But for the next Financial Friday, let's come up with a 90-day challenge. All right. Let's come up with a 90-day challenge, and we're going to, let's say, double our emergency fund.
Okay.
So if you don't have no emergency fund, to have a emergency fund would be your first step. All right. And if you have emergency fund, doubling that emergency fund would be your step. All right. And so we want to double our emergency fund. For clarification, what is a emergency fund considered?
An emergency fund is considered, so if it is a liquid asset, which means it is something in which you can dissolve or take money out of to have it readily available to spend.
Okay, so I'm speaking more from how much is the emergency fund?
Oh, your emergency fund is, well,
How do I calculate what emergency fund is?
oh, gotcha. I was gonna say how many months. So it's an emergency fund is typically 4 months of your bills paid.
Okay,
So if you take how much money it takes to pay your bills,
so you
and that
add up 4
yep,
months of bills.
yeah, that's not including gas. That's not including uh, gas is not normally included,
Talking
but
about
you
gas
can.
for the car.
Yeah, gas for your vehicle is not normally included, but
So
a
4 months of utilities and mortgage. Is that what you're
yeah,
saying? And
utilities, mortgage,
insurances.
things that you regularly pay for.
Okay.
So groceries may be a bill, even though it's something in which you may not account for. You have to know that you have to eat. So groceries. So you may say I spend $1,200 on groceries. Well, you got to multiply that by 4. You'll be at $4,800 just for groceries. That's what you need to have for groceries. If your mortgage is $600, you multiply that by 4, and now you're at $2,400 just for your mortgage. But I want to make it a little bit more than that because a lot more research is coming out, and it's probably closer to 6 months that a person may have to account for. And it's just the way we spend money and the way inflation is running. So if you're at 4 months, it will be more feasible for you to go to 6 months. So you're building out an additional 50% of what you normally have.
Okay, so let's do it like this then. So you and I we'll get together and we'll put together the challenge. It's going to be a 90-day challenge, all right? And we're gonna make a list of what emergency fund is. We're going to make a list of what the emergency fund includes, all right? And then we're going to come up with a couple of plans that we could give people of how they could begin to develop the emergency fund. And so in 90 days, we want everybody to at least have an emergency fund. And for those of you who already have one, we want your emergency fund to double.
Hey, Pastor, I do like Brother Lewis. So let me make sure I make a disclaimer. Your emergency fund is not your holiday fund. It is not.
No. We ain't talking about saving up no money and then now you get ready to go on the shopping spree.
I know.
And then let's put in a contract in there. You have to keep the emergency fund for 1 year. Let's say 1 year. We'll start with 1 year. You have to keep it for 1 year, and as a start. But we want it forever. But we want you to begin to double your emergency fund and triple it. What we're trying to do is get you in the regiment of putting money aside, and then we want to get you in the regiment of paying off your debt. And so we want to show you how to take emergency fund and how you can use it to accelerate your debt payoff. But you got to start with having one, and so we want to walk you through that. But we want to train your mind. We got to get you in a producer mindset, not a consumer. And so we're gonna have to unlearn that consumerness. All right. This is not a holiday fund. This is not a birthday party fund. This is not a vacation fund. Now you can use the same principles that you use to start saving for emergency fund to save for a holiday fund and to save for a vacation fund. but those are individually different funds. All right. And
Yes.
so we're going to start with the emergency fund. And like I say, now you can take the same principles and start saving for your other funds, but your emergency fund is going to stay intact for 1 year.
Yes.
All right. So we're
Now,
going to work on that and simplify it
yeah.
and for next Financial Friday. So you don't want to miss next Financial Friday. We're going to document it, put it in a little card so we can post it and you can put it on your phone. We'll add some mantras and scriptures for it and so that you could begin to say that. Matter of fact, here's a mantra for you. I want everybody to repeat after me. I am disciplined.
I am disciplined.
I am wise.
I am wise.
I am focused
I am focused
on creating financial security
on creating financial security
for myself
for myself
and my family.
and my family.
All right, that's your mantra for this week. I am disciplined. I am wise. I am focused on creating financial security for myself and my family. All right, so it's going to take discipline, wisdom, and focus. All right, discipline, wisdom, and focus. All right, we're going to do this. You are the better. You are the better. All right. You are the better, and we're gonna walk alongside of you on this thing, so that you can get to that place. Listen to what he says in Romans chapter 13, verse 8. One of the misused scriptures, but I'm gonna put it out there for this anyway. It says that he let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt of love one another. For whoever loves others has fulfilled the law. And so it is the undeniable will of God that we pay off debt. All right. Now he didn't say now we can't have debt. You know, he said don't let the debt remain. All right. And so we because we are disciplined, because we are wise, because we are focused, we're going to begin to take care of outstanding debt, and we're going to begin to create an emergency fund. All right, are y'all with me? All right, let me see it in the chat. How many of y'all with me? I know that's kind of tough on you a little bit, because I know you was getting ready to go and have you a steak dinner, or you getting ready to go buy you some new Jordans, or you was getting ready to go, get you a new Coach purse, and you was getting ready to go do something. But we want you to begin to cut back on spending just to be spending. All right, and we're going to begin to build an emergency fund. So next week you want to tune in, because we're going to simplify it for you, and we're going to all join in together. I'm going to be a part of it as well. I'm going to use it to build my emergency fund, and my goal is going to be to double mine. And so, I've used my emergency fund over this past summer because of certain situations, but I'm going to double it. But I'm going to start with creating it again. So come on, type it in. I don't got but 2 people in. James Jones with me, Mr. Brumfield with me. All right, Elder is with me. All right. Come on, type it in there. Let me put mine in there.
90 days. I'm actually going to try to, since the business is starting to do what it do, I'm going to do it for the business side, and then also double it. I'm going to replenish the business side and double it for the personal side. So if anybody want to know how I would do it, that's what I'm going to do. Because if you can't do more, let's do more.
Yeah. I spelled that wrong. Can I edit that? I said I'm. Like I'm stuttering. I'm. No, I'm not utter, or stuttering.
I didn't know you could delete that. Can you delete it? Can you delete your post?
I think our producer just did, and thank you, producer. And I'm gonna redo it. Yeah, boom. I'm in. Global's in. Come on, where y'all at?
I am in.
All right. So next week we're gonna have a simplified formula, and we're gonna have definitions, and we're gonna have some mantras, but we're going to simplify it, and then we're going to put it in the e-download for you, where you can just download it, and then each Financial Friday we're going to check in, and then our goal is going to be in 90 days to have emergency fund, and if you already have one, it's going to be to double it. All right, it's going to be to double it. All right.
Yes.
All right, our time is going fast tonight. Where are we at, James? Let's pick a
okay. So we got,
and then let's go for it. We got 10 minutes.
Next is a commitment, but we're already going to do the 90-day challenge. So when it comes to commitment, you have to commit to your emergency fund. And when I say commit to it, I do mean you actually got to be determined. You got to assign it, and you got to get to where you need to get to in your emergency fund. Now, this is where it's a little different, because once you get done getting past your emergency fund, now you have to have it. Now you got to have your emergency fund has to have a particular purpose. Because what happens when you get past the 6 months? What happens when you get past your 3 months? What happens in my case or your case when you get past your 4 months of emergency fund? That is when you start pushing it over the edge. And that's when you want to talk about, hey, I may need life insurance. Hey, my kids may need life insurance. Hey, I want to make sure that we have a better dental coverage. Hey, I want to make sure we are accelerating. So in the little bit of time in which I have, I want to make sure that we are understanding that once you hit your goal of your emergency, once you hit your goal of your emergency fund, you want to make sure that you're now assigning, you're still putting money into your emergency fund, except instead of it doing the emergency fund, now it's branching off and doing other things. Because some people don't have life insurance and they may need it. Some people may need home insurance or renter's insurance and they don't have it. You want to make sure that your emergency fund is doing all the things in which your emergency is supposed to cover. Once those things are now attributed, then you go into, hey, let me put a little bit more money aside for my sanity. Let me put more money aside to accelerate myself out of bills. Let me put more money aside so we can do what we are called to do, which is ministry. With that, now you have the quality of life and the quality of being dedicated to a cause. I can't explain it or express it enough that once the ball is rolling, you no longer have to fight yourself or fight your family or fight with your passion, because your emergency fund is there for you. It's there to help you. It is there to help build what you have already put in place. The biggest thing to consider is financial stability, and that's what your emergency fund allows you to do. And when you do have an emergency, instead of you looking to your left and right and hoping that someone will help you, you can just write a check and pull yourself out of that financial situation, which I can tell you from personal experiences, it is always helpful to be able to write a check to pull yourself out of your own financial responsibilities. You become your own bank in a sense. You become your own best friend in a sense, because you have money set aside to do a particular purpose. And that only goes through being dedicated to a cause. The next one is, like all things, I want to give you all of encouragement. You got this. You can do this. You just have to trust the process. And the process is, in the beginning, you want to get money set aside. Once you get that controlled, I guess that's the best way to put it. Once you are controlled with what you're doing and you are passionate about what you're doing and you are routinely doing it, then you want to push it to 3 months. Then you want to push it to 4 months. However, by next week, you're going to have all of this stuff written out for you. And I'm going to make sure that you have a nice, easy step-by-step to get all this stuff done. Because I want you to trust the process, because I want you to have an emergency fund. I want you to be able to start utilizing that fund to do what you are called to do.
Yeah. Come on, repeat after me. I will live like no one else, so later I can live and give like no one else. Come on, say that. I will
I will
live like no one else.
live like no one else.
So later,
No later.
so later,
So later,
I can live and give
I can live and give
like no one else.
like no one else.
Yeah. Global Daily Facts said we should suggest some side hustle ideas for next Financial Fridays. Some side hustles, and so we could try to see if we can come up with some ways that people can do some side hustles, because some may be tapped out. You know, they may be tapped out and they don't have monies to put to the side. So let's see if we can come up with some ideas of how they can come up with some side hustles in order to be able to uh, start building that emergency fund. All right, come on, you're gonna live like no one else, so later you can live and give like no one else. Come on, what else you got there, bro? James, we got about 7 minutes.
7 minutes. All right, 7 minutes. We good. So by trusting the process, we now move into. I think we are. Oh, we're building 12 months of savings. So that's the next step. So if you can get yourself up to 4 months, but I think that the doubling is what will be even more spectacular. So if you can get yourself up to 4 months, you want to push yourself out to 12 months. And it's how long does it take to build? So when it takes, if you're trying to push yourself out to get started, 90 days is a good time to get your your emergency fund started. How long would it take you to make up to 4 months worth of emergency funds? It typically may take you up to a year. So even though you're doing a 90-day challenge, remember, this is a 90-day challenge to produce a habit. Once you have the habit in sync, you will make it to a year. Once your habits are in sync and your discipline is in sync, you will make the processes in place to get to where you need to get to. And I want to make sure that I am telling everybody, don't get discouraged that if you get to 90 days and you only have $3 million in your bank account and you wanted 10, don't get discouraged. Keep the process going and you will get there eventually.
Yeah.
Likewise, if you're trying to get $10 inside of your fund and you only have 60 and you're trying to, sorry about that, if you're trying to get 100 and you only have 60, don't get discouraged. Remember, continue the process. Use a credit card for your emergency fund until you can grow it out to be $1,000 or $2,000 to make sure it takes care of your financial needs.
Okay. And every time I hear him say use a credit card, you know, some goes off in my head, because I don't want you to use your credit card. I want you to make sure that it is indeed an emergency.
Yeah.
That it is an emergency. Don't just use it because you can use it. Be intentional. Learn how to suffer through, And so, if you can't have it right now, learn how to wait for it. Be patient and not just, don't make the credit card the go-to. All right. So be careful with that. Be careful with that, because that's a slippery slope, and it's easy. It's easy to get caught up in that, because I've been there multiple times, and so be careful with using credit cards. We want to get you to a place where I would rather you wait unless like it's an emergency, like you on the side of the road, like you said, you got a flat tire and you need a tire or something like that. Okay, but we want you to be preventative on that. You need some tires. We want you to start saving for some tires. Don't wait till you get a flat. We want you to do some preventative things. We want you to look ahead. We want you to be wise. We want you to begin to plan. And even though he said it might take a year, you're gonna do it in 90 days. All right, we're gonna cut out every time. We're gonna cut out the potato chips. We're gonna cut out some candy bars and some sodas. We're gonna cut back on the T-bones, and we're gonna start purposely putting money aside, and we're gonna aggressively go after this emergency fund. All right.
Yes.
We're going to aggressively go after this emergency fund. And that's going to be our hustle. That's going to be our grind. And we're going to continue to grind and until we begin to see that thing grow to the point in a year you have quadrupled your emergency fund and you'll have a habit of saving money, and now you'll begin to experience financial freedom. Don't go back. Don't go back. Don't go back. All right. So be careful, be careful, be careful with those credit cards. All right.
Yeah,
All right, we got that global saying. That's right. Establishing a habit is the key for long-term success. It's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Deacon Boone, how you doing this evening? He said, I hear you, Pastor, about those credit cards. Yeah, the credit cards that get you in trouble. All right. And like Lewis said, being able to get those interest-free, 0%, and then using those to pay things down, but making sure you pay it off before the deadline. All right. And so,
You know what?
so be careful with the credit cards. I can't stress that enough.
No, I mean, on one of these Financial Fridays, I will dive into that because that is a really good technique to get a lot of things taken care of. It's just that 0% interest and that low interest credit cards to help pull people out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really nice movement that people can utilize.
All right. So, Bro James, what did you make it through? Have we had a good stopping place?
I don't know. Let me. We are 4 bills. Yeah, we had a good stopping place. Yeah, the last slide is just saying that you can achieve your goals. So the last slide, which I always got to alter these, but the last slide is just telling you that you can achieve your goals if you assign your money to another area. So after you have achieved your goal, now remember, the emergency fund is not to have this uber exorbitant amount of money. The emergency fund is to have a nest egg or a fund that you can dip into in case you need emergencies taken care of. Because once you hit your emergency fund goal, you want to start shifting all that money into paying off your high interest debts, or your higher interest debts, or your higher interest loans, or your higher interest credit cards. That would allow you to become debt free and hit financial freedom a lot sooner.
Right.
And that's it.
All right. I'll just create this prayer. I'm gonna put it in this chat. I'm not sure where it goes, but I'm gonna put it in there. Here's a prayer that I want you to use this week, a prayer or confession, however you want to use it. Did it come out right? Did I get it? Or
yeah, and two and three.
Three different ones.
Yes.
Now that looks like that went to YouTube. How do I get that on Facebook? Let's see if we can get that on Facebook.
Oh, hit a control. Can you highlight it with Control A and then hit Control?
One is our producer can do that. Listen, we are just about out of time. We got less than a couple of minutes. Thank you again for tuning in to Financial Friday. And we're going to take that prayer and put that on Facebook for you as well. And what we want you to do is pray that prayer this week. Make that your confession this week. And, we believe you can do it. Listen, we are out of time. I pray that this Financial Friday has encouraged you, bless you. Make sure you tune in next week for the 90-day emergency fund challenge. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do this thing. We're going to supernaturally defy whatever the statistics says. James, what's your closing comments?
You can do it, and I believe in you. All right, my grinders. Let's do it.
All right. He said, you can do it. I believe in you. I believe in you as well. All right. Listen, thank you again for tuning in to another Financial Friday, where we are rising out of our financial slump and thriving in our financial freedom. God bless you. See you next week. Be blessed.